with memories that will never fade. But most importantly, I've met some pretty cool people along the way, and I'd love to share them with you. If you know what it means to have a dream, we aren't much different from each other after all. This is our show. This is the AG21 Show. What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 2 of the AG21 Show. I have my good friend right here, Mr. Marcello Margott, a.k.a. Double M33 in the building. What's up, my man?
Not much, man. You know, just another day in the life. What's going on?
Not much, man. I'm stoked to have you on right now. Out of all the people I've come across in paintball, you know, you've been one of the most wise dudes I've had conversations with before. And I know it took a little bit to get you on this show. But I'm really stoked to have you here right now.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, I think the times we've talked, we've always had really good conversation, and that was one of the main reasons I wanted to come and have a full conversation that the public could see, is because the few times we've talked at whether it's been overseas, I think was one of the last times we had like a pretty deep conversation. You know, I was like, that's somebody I could sit there and vibe with. We could come and we could put on a little show for people. So I was excited to come, dude. I'm excited that you are starting the AG21 show. I think it's badass. You know, people need to hear this kind of stuff. They need to be able to see different professional perspectives and understand what's going on within our sport, within, you know, the personal lives of the athletes that are actually doing this. I think it's awesome. So thank you for creating that platform.
Absolutely. And, you know, you guys know I'm trying to grow the sport the best of my ability. And right now, I think with the platforms that we have, you know, with Instagram and with Facebook, paintball's in a different place now in this era than it was once upon a time, in the sense that, you know, we are all interconnected. And the ability to put out content and speak truth is different than it was once upon a time.
For sure.
So definitely trying to take advantage of that, and definitely trying to allow you guys to get to know these athletes. You know, because we watch guys like Marcello Margott on Go Sports and playing tournaments, but we don't necessarily get to know all of his stories and what got him to the point where he is at right now. So that's what I want to dive into, you know, firsthand. I kind of want to know, you know, how old were you, and what was your story of how you got into paintball?
The story of how I got into paintball is probably my favorite story of all time. It's awesome, and family's really important to me, and so this connection with my dad that paintball's created has always been, I'm happy to share this story. When I was 9 years old, I had an older cousin who had a paintball gun.
Okay.
I don't know what he had, but he had a paintball gun, and he would go around, and he was a troublemaker, first of all. So he was a big-time troublemaker, but I like looked up to him because he was cool, and I always wanted to do stuff that he was doing. He had a paintball gun. He would go around, and he was like just shooting signs and stuff. You know, he's graffitiing, which I do not recommend this. Do not do this. Please do not do this. It's the worst thing that could happen for our sport. But I was 9 years old, all right? And I was like, damn, I want a paintball gun, you know?
Yep.
My dad would never let me get one. You know, he's, nope, you're not having it. My dad's old school Italian. Today, he is 78 years old. Back then, when we started playing, I think he was, 60, something like that, right? So I was at Walmart one day with my mom, and my parents had separated already, and my mom knew that my dad didn't want me to have a paintball gun because I was going back and forth, you know, trying to play both sides. And I ended up convincing my mom at Walmart to buy me this $25 Stingray pump gun. It's a plastic paintball gun, right? Total garbage gun, but I just wanted a paintball gun. I made her a deal, if you could say, that convinced her to buy me this paintball gun. Yes. So she knew she was dropping me off at my dad's later that night. Didn't really matter, you know, like what happened. So I get the paintball gun, I go home, and I'm at my dad's, and I walk in, and I have it behind my back. And, you know, I look at my dad, and I say, Dad, I got something. And he's like,
what did you do?
What'd you do? What'd you get? And I show it to him. And he got so mad. So mad. Took it from me, sent me to my room. He was truly pissed off. Like, that's no other way to say he was mad. And so I go to my room, I'm like, well, that didn't work. It didn't last long, right? So I'm in there, like an hour later he comes in and he goes, hey, Marcello, come out here. So I come out, and he has the whole gun set up. Everything is out of the packaging. It's all set up. It's like ready to go. And he's like, why don't we shoot this thing in the backyard? So I was like, yeah, let's shoot it, you know? So we go in the backyard and we're like, we're shooting trees. We're having a blast. And it was like, oh, this is awesome. This is really fun. He's like, yeah. So I looked it up and I found on Google that it's a game. You could go play this, you know? He's like, would you want to go try it this weekend? I was like, yeah, let's go for sure. So that Saturday marked the first Saturday that I ever played back in 1999. We went out to this local field, Borderland Paintball, which, I mean, I didn't know when we were going there, but that's where like a lot of the old school NPPL tournaments were. Like if you speak to some of the veterans today, they have real war stories from Borderland, and I'm talking about like the Shane Pastanas, you know, that era. Borderland was like a high-profile field, and so we show up there, go out and play, and my dad didn't play. He was just watching on the sidelines. And this story is even better from him. I'll try to give it to you guys from his perspective. But I'm playing, you know, my first game ever, running around in the woods, and which I know you had a different start. You didn't start in the woods.
Yes.
We'll get to that later.
Yes.
But I started totally in the woods. Airball wasn't even around when I started paintball. In any case, I'm playing. My dad was watching on the sidelines, and he says he got shot from like a stray ball. He goes, "Oh my God, that hurts!" You know, he's like, I have to go out there and protect my son. So he rented gear, came out and played. We had the time of our lives. We had so much fun, Alex. I mean, I truly, like, one of the best things that ever happened to us as father and son, because from that day forward, we were hooked on paintball. Totally addicted. We played every single weekend. Every Saturday we would play. So not only did it become just the best bonding experience I could have with my dad, to this day, it's like, it's built such a strong foundation to our relationship. I'm closer with my dad than I am with just about anybody in this world. You can't... He's on a pedestal, you know what I mean? And it's truly because of these years growing up that I got to spend doing something like paintball every weekend with him. And, you know, and not only that, but it's created a great future for myself. It's been quite awesome. But, yeah, I got started by, first of all, misunderstanding the game, which most people do. Most people don't understand that it is a game or a sport even. And I went to the field just to have some pure fun, had a blast, got hooked, and... You know, we didn't look back since. That was it. Every single weekend we were at the field from that point forward.
Wow. It's crazy to think about how, like, sports play such an impact in all of our lives and the relationships that we develop with people through sports. You know, I know some of the best friends I've ever made have been playing football or have been playing lacrosse, or my dad coached me in Little League football, and that's, when I look back on the good times, those are some of the best times I can ever remember or through that. So I go ahead.
I think there's something really nice about having a common goal, you know?
Yes.
And so in stuff like that, in sports, there's a common goal. And when you can work together to achieve that common goal, it creates a really unique bond. And I think that's amazing. And you know, a lot of sports offer that. Paintball really offers that. You know what I'm saying?
So let's flash forward then a little bit, right? I'm looking up here right now, and I see a blue jersey, and it has your last name on it, and it has the number 33. And I'm sure you would have never imagined playing at 9 years old that you would maybe have a jersey one day, or if you even knew that paintball was a sport. How did you discover it was a sport? How old were you when you discovered it was a sport? And what was that transition like? What was that discovery like for you?
So at 9 years old, I definitely didn't imagine any of that,
yes.
Of course. I was just playing for pure fun. But it wasn't too long after that. I think I was 11 years old when I entered my first tournament. It was a beginner tournament called Best in the West. I don't know if you'd ever heard of that. It was a West Coast series. They had beginner, rookie, and novice, just 3 divisions. Beginner was 3-man, rookie, novice was 5-man. Not like the typical X-Ball style you have today where it's a point system. It's just one game and you're done. But it was just a fun local West Coast series. When I was 11 years old, I entered in the beginner division with some of my buddies because, I've always been competitive. It doesn't matter. When I was growing up and I was playing Mario Kart with my dad, I mean, we'd be up till like 3 in the morning because I wouldn't let him go to bed because he'd always beat me. I'm like, no, we have to play again. We have to play again. You know, like we have to keep going until I could beat you. I have to practice. Like it's always had that competitive nature. And paintball was no different, right? And so when I was 11, I found out there was a tournament at our local field. You know, the local field advertised this event, and so we signed up. we went through the tournament undefeated and won the beginner. It was beginner, 3-man, the lowest that you can enter, but we kicked butt, and so I was stoked. And so from that point, I was just kind of hooked on the competition, which is, I think, what all athletes that are truly athletes, I think their biggest connection is that. It's the fulfillment, but it's the hard work that it takes to achieve something. It's the preparation. It's everything that goes around the goal, And again, it goes back to that common goal, Mm-hmm. We have a team with a common goal. Hey, in 3 weeks, we're going to try to win this tournament. So, we're all on the same page for those 3 weeks. It's a feeling that you get like every single day that is indescribable to, you really have to experience it for yourself. But, and then you win, so you're addicted, you're hooked because everything pays off and it feels good and it's awesome. And you think you're super cool for that small moment. And so we finished out the whole season. We won we didn't go undefeated the rest of the event, but we did win every single tournament for that season. And then as that season went on, I was still obviously playing on the weekends, and I was very fortunate. This is where, some people are just luckier than others. Absolutely. I know your story. You came up in a much different way than I did. You had to really work a lot harder than I did as far as connections go, right? I was very fortunate that teams like the Ironmen and Dynasty and Avalanche back in the day, these are the most high-profile teams, Absolutely. They played at my local field. Absolutely. Right, so I had the chance to run up to them, the Ironmen especially. I would always go up to them like, hey, can I jump in with you guys? I'm 12 years old, I'm a little kid annoying them. Can I jump in with you guys? Can I do drills with you guys? Whatever it was, I was just the loudmouth kid that wanted to get my foot in the door any way that I could, and I was just stargaze over these guys like these are pros.
They're superheroes.
And I didn't care that they might have been famous. I don't even think that was a thing back then. I'm not sure. The thing that I was so impressed with was how good they were. When I'd watch them play against other people, I was like, dude, they kill everybody. They shoot everybody. These guys are good. That's what I want to be. I want to be a ninja on the field. That's what I was inspired by, was how good they were. Watching them play from that age was like they were untouchable. People couldn't shoot them at our local field. So I wanted to be that. That was like the first spark of, I want to be the best. I had no desire or no intention of making it a career, a lucrative career. To me, it was just about being the best so that I could go out and be a ninja on the field. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it was to me. It was competitive.
It's so crazy. When you're telling me like how you see them and then they're so good, it just reminds me about like, it's like that with everything. Like whether it's like skateboarding and, you're starting out and then you go to this skate park and you see like the dudes, who know what they're doing.
Oh,
it's
for
like,
sure.
who are those guys? Like,
what are they doing?
You know what I'm saying? Or like pick up basketball, you see the guys dunking it and throwing it behind your back. And that's the same with paintball.
I could do that too.
Yeah. No, so I want to cross paths with you really quick. So,
okay.
You talk about how I came up. I would not know what paintball was if I didn't tune into ESPN.
I love this story, by the way.
No, if I didn't tune into ESPN in 2006 and see it played as a sport, and I'm like, okay, like this is crazy, like this is a sport right now, and these guys are moving around and they're very athletic and they're diving and they're crawling. Like, I did the same thing as you. I Googled it and I found an indoor field in Long Island, New York. And, playing for the first time, I mean, I was so scared. I was, hiding behind the bunker. I went and played with my uncle at the time. And it's just like anything else. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You realize that, okay, on Monday nights, it's Monday night power session. And all those guys that you're talking about that are really good, those are the nights that they come up and they play 5-on-5 pickup. And you're like, okay, Dad, like, I'm really sorry. I know it's $76 to play, but I really just want to play with these guys on this Monday night. And then, you get him to drive you 45 minutes. I forever thank him for this. But being able to play against those guys, it's almost like time traveling. But when you play against people who are better than you, you have no choice. There's two choices. You can either get beat up and you can quit, or you can play to their level and get better. And I feel like you become more and more fearless every single time you go back to the field.
It's funny you bring up being fearless, because I think I posted something about it, but it's very true. The only people that are feared are the ones that are fearless. You know, and if you really look
Wow.
into that, it's like it's yeah, you have to be fearless in your pursuit of things. And you know, the top athletes in whatever it is, you want to look. Let's look at Kobe, Jordan, Tom Brady, Ronaldo, Cristiano's. They're all fearless athletes. They show up and they are not scared of anybody. They instill fear in others. They instill intimidation in others, and it's because they are so fearless. But that fearlessness comes because of their confidence, which comes from their preparation, which comes from their entire journey, right? But when you get to that point and you understand that what you just said was a great thing, like being a little bit intimidated and then growing from that, as you get better, you get to that point. And it's the top athletes that are the most fearless, right? They truly are. They're fearless. They go out there and they're just acting. They're doing stuff that they have trained themselves to do over and over and over and over. And fear is not they have no fear of getting shot or getting eliminated or making a bad move. Those are gone because they've put in the preparation, they've had the experience, they have everything. Now they're just acting, and if something happens, they'll deal with those repercussions, sure. But fear is not going to prevent them, you know?
Got it.
And the ones that you fear the most are those guys. It's like, dude, this guy's going to do anything it takes to win. It doesn't matter, you know? And those are the people that are feared.
So,
Yeah,
okay,
right?
so you're telling me this process and this preparation that these athletes put in to being the best. I want to become fearless, right? Because of the preparation that they put in. I want to interweave a question in here really quick.
Okay.
And I appreciate you guys for sending these in through Facebook and through Instagram. But Jameson from Connecticut. Okay, this is someone who right now is looking to play at the level that you're playing. He's going through that same journey that you're going through.
And you, by the way.
And
just so everybody knows, this guy is also a professional Sunday player, has worked his way up organically, and that credit has to be, you know, give credit when credit's due.
Okay.
Gotta throw that out.
I really appreciate that. I really do. But he wants to know, so how can someone improve their skills and play at a higher level? So I'd like you to answer that by kind of taking me through your journey and some of the things that got you up to speed with the Ironmen that you watched once upon a time.
Look, I could simplify this very easy. I teach a lot of clinics. Around the world, I teach a lot of clinics every year. I'm constantly trying to teach, whether it's, you know, I do so many clinics, I've wrote a book about the clinics I do, right? So I love teaching, and that is the most common question I get at the end of a clinic is, what do I need to work on? What can I do to become pro? And to me, that question is very flawed, all right? And I'm sorry, I'm just being very raw with it. It's very flawed. You need to first understand that in order to be the best at something, you have to work on everything. Everything that is involved with that game or that relationship or that job, you need to work on every aspect of it if you want to be the best. If you want to be mediocre, then you just focus in on one detail, right? If you want to be the best snap shooter in the league, then hey, just focus on gun skills. Just sit there and do snap shooting drills over and over and over and over, and hope that you don't make a bad move because you're inexperienced. Hope that you just get yourself into a situation where you have to have a one-on-one gunfight, which happens a lot in paintball, and that's the only thing you're ever put in. But that's just not how it goes. You need to work on everything. So for me, the question becomes flawed, and I would like for people to rethink and find a way to understand that you got to work on everything, dude. You have to work on gun skills. You have to go to the field every weekend, work on snap shooting, work on technique, work on laning off the break. Even if you're a snake player, you need to be able to shoot off the break. I can't tell you how many plays that we have on our team, Dynasty alone, where Kyle Spica, and sorry, dude, I'm blowing our cover, Kyle. Don't worry, you're still gonna shoot people. It's all good.
Put on blast on the AG21 show right now.
Where we have Kyle in the back center shooting off the break and then releasing to a far spot. So you want to have a wide variety of options. So Kyle needs to be able to, and he's very good at it because he practices it all the time. You need to be able to also shoot off the break if you're a front snake player. You need to also understand the different positions. If you're a front player, you need to play the back so you understand what your back player is going through. If you're a back player, if you're a snake corner player, you need to get into the snake because you need to understand how tough that position is, and you need to understand how much help your snake player actually needs. You play the snake a lot.
Absolutely.
It's difficult. Your head's down the entire time. You're counting on your teammates behind you to give you information so that you can formulate the best game plan going forward. Mm-hmm. Or you need to count on them to give you the game plan. Like, a lot of your success depends on the people behind you. Absolutely. So people need to understand that in order to be the best at something, you can't focus on one goal. You need to focus on a lot of goals. Mm-hmm. A lot of different things. And paintball is, you need to have good field awareness. You need to have good technical ability. Good gun skills go in line with that, shooting off the break, that kind of stuff. And I think a big thing for people working their way up through the ranks, I don't know if this is necessarily his question, but I'll just elaborate a little bit on it. People working themselves up through the ranks is to have an open mind. I know a lot of players go to team tryouts and stuff like that, and they have paintball is very intense. Paintball is very adrenaline's going, and it's really difficult. You know, you run down the field, you make a bad move, you get shot up, it kind of hurts, mm-hmm. and then someone's yelling at you as to why you did that. And it's really hard in those moments to keep your composure, and a lot of younger players don't keep their composure. Now, whether that means they lash out or they disagree, that's a different thing, but a lot of times they're quick to point the finger as to why they made that move. Mm-hmm. And my biggest thing for these players is, look, if you're trying to make a team or work yourself up through the ranks, the biggest thing that professional teams, I know Dynasty, we hardly look for new players. It's usually pretty low-key on a tight circle of who we're looking at. But if we are going to look at somebody, we're going to look at somebody that's very technically advanced and listens really well and communicates on the field. Those are three very important, crucial things that are going to help your team win across the board no matter what division you're in. Being technically advanced, okay? So your gun skills, your gunfighting, snap shooting is on point. Low profile, you're very accurate. Your running and shooting is on point. You can stay in a small circle when running out to the corner because you need to make those shots. And off the break shooting because then you're diverse, okay? Or you're the back player. All those things need to be totally in tune. You can't get away from that. They need to be in tune. Experience, we can teach that, right? So that's something that experience we can teach. We're okay with you not having the experience if you have all the fundamentals in check. You communicate on the field, which shows that you care about your teammates. It shows that you are interested in the better being of the team, not just yourself. All right? And you're open to listening. That's like the most important stuff. It's like, okay, cool, we have this kid that we can mold, right? He's technically there. We don't have to sit there and go over drills with him that he should have been doing his whole career. Mm-hmm. We can now start to teach him the logic of the game. And so that question is always a very deep question. I'm really glad. Who asked that one? Jameson. Dude, your question is awesome. I appreciate it, man, like so much because it's very easy to get tunneled in on like, hey, what's one thing I should do to work better on? I get that. That's very easy to tunnel in on. Mm-hmm. I want you to understand and the rest to understand. And understand that I get asked this question. It's the question I get asked the most at my clinics. It's everything. Work on everything. Be a very well-rounded player. Focus on your attributes, your highlights, stuff that you're best at. Make that even better. But don't overlook anything. Focus on everything.
Absolutely.
It's a little bit of a rant. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, please. That's. I hope you got value out of it, Jameson. And I would say, you're from Connecticut, and I grew up playing in New York. So the best advice that I have for you to add to what Marcello is saying is reach out to those guys that are so-called the best players in your area and the best team and play against them and play up to their speed.
Great advice.
So I kind of want to transition then because I said reaching out, right?
Sure.
And Jason from Indiana, Marcello, wants to know what is the best way to network in paintball to get to the higher ranking teams, such like a Dynasty?
I think that you're a perfect example of that. So it's better if he answers, but I'll give my spin on it. His answer is going to be a lot more plausible, I think, in this because he has firsthand experience. But I think most of the pros are pretty reachable. That's one of the things is like we're paintballers just like you. Mm-hmm. We're the same. I don't think there's any professional paintball players that put themselves on a pedestal to where if we're at an event or you hit us up on Facebook or Instagram, you're not going to get through. I think you're all going to get through, and if someone were to reach out to me and ask me this kind of stuff, I would respond. So I think the biggest thing is just put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to contact whether it's a D2 team or a D3 team. What's funny is I do think a lot of the divisional teams might be a little more hardcore than the pros. I've heard that from some people. They're like, dude, I reached out to this D1 team and the owner just like totally Hollywooded me, I'm like, what? Who is this guy? Because if you reach out to us and you have like a legit, we're going to take time to listen. There's been a few players actually. Philly Shreds is one of them. You're one of them. Nate Schrader was one of them. There's another one that actually doesn't play anymore. Mike Urena. You remember Mike, right?
Yes,
there's a bunch of people back in 2014-ish that were contacting like me, Mouse, and some of the Ironmen trying to get out and come join the squad. And none of you guys were ready yet, right? We'll just be honest. That nobody was ready yet. And but they came out every single weekend. They contacted us, and they said, hey, we want to come out. We want to prove ourselves. It wasn't, hey, I deserve a spot on your team. It was, I'm going to do whatever I can to prove myself to you guys because this is my passion, and I desire playing on this professional team. So I'm going to do whatever it takes. So we take that as, okay, yeah, of course. How are we going to turn that down? Now, it's different. If you come at a professional team or even a team in higher ranks than you and say, you guys should pick me up, which I've had. I get messages on Instagram of like, oh, no. Hey, you guys need me, and I can play the snake like a G, blah, blah. I'm like, have you seen Kyle? He's pretty boss. World Cup MVP. Talk to him because I think he's going to outbeat you for your spot. It's just arrogant, and then we shut down to that. But the way you approached it, the way, and this is years ago, Phil Shreds approached it, all these guys, they approach it differently, and it's a very good approach. Like, hey, I'm willing to learn. I want to get to this level. What can I do? I'm gonna keep coming out. So you guys continued to fly out and practice and practice and practice, and you guys got told no a lot, dude. You got told no for 2 years, I think. Sorry, I know it's your show, but 2 years. But now look, now you're a threat in the league. You're somebody that is. You're not on our team, but I guarantee you that journey sparked where you're at right now. Absolutely. For sure. Because you pursued what you were going to do. You said, no matter what, this is my avenue, and you came. Ironman was a team that was open to these kind of invitations at the time, and you and a few others, and Phil, I think, is one of the better players on Infamous now. And I think it's because he's a threat, right? He's a constant threat. You always have to worry with his speed, like where he's going to go. These are players that are now in the league playing against us that, sure, maybe we said no to them, but you putting yourselves out there got you involved in the scene. So my best answer to that is you need to put yourself out there. Absolutely. You need to reach out to these pros. The pros are very attainable. You can easily get in contact with all of us. Maybe some won't get back to you. That's the way life goes, You got to keep trying. Keep trying. Meet the field owners. Meet the team owners. Try to. Put yourself in position. And if you're good enough, these teams are going to pick you up, right? Why wouldn't they? If you're good enough, I guarantee you if somebody could come to a dynasty tryout and outplay more than half of our team, he's getting picked up. But if he can't outplay half of our team, then no, he's not going to get picked up. So
it's funny. I talked to Matty Marshall about this when I was in France 2 years ago, and this was right before Uprising had played professional in 2016 for the first time, and he says, Alex, you have to be so good at what you do that people are forced to notice. It's as simple as that. That's the only chance you have in life. Now let's break that down a little bit. How do you be so good that people are forced to notice? And that's the journey that you're talking about. Marcello, when I reached out to you 3 years ago to try to compete, it's funny because I was going through my senior year of high school, right? I was playing lacrosse. I had to make sacrifices to get on those planes those weekends that I came out and just played with your team, not trying to earn a spot to play tournaments with you all. And so much goes into it. But also, what you don't see is during the week when I'm going out and I'm shooting a pole and I'm learning things from you. When I came out to California and I played against them, a big difference between West Coast and kind of, not East Coast, but, New York paintball is you guys...
It's East Coast, bro. It's East Coast, bro. That's as East Coast as it gets.
If you're from California, everything's the East Coast. They don't...
New York's as East Coast as it gets. What do you mean? Hold up. Time out.
It's a big coast. So you got Florida, you got a bunch of states on the coast.
Oh my goodness!
But it's very honest paintball. What
Right.
you guys play. There's no cheating in practice. Like I said, aim small, miss small. That was the most valuable thing you ever taught me during a practice. You said, hey, the points that you're not playing, pick a pole right there, make sure it's very small. I want you to shoot one ball at it, aim small, miss small, and count how many times you hit it, within a minute. And that translated unbelievably to actually when I was in a tournament. Because I said to myself, if I can hit that pole during practice and be comfortable with that, when I'm in a tournament and I need to get, to the 50-yard line and this guy is stopping me across field, it's almost like the Karate Kid. You close your eyes and you take that one shot and all of a sudden, like, you're hitting people and you didn't used to be hitting people. Being technical, what you talk about. And then, right, like, that's on you to do those things. That's on you to make those sacrifices. And then when you network, what he said, nowadays you have Instagram DM, you have Facebook, you can go to these tournaments and, these guys have downtime during their matches. You can go up to them. I would go up to them and I'd say, hey, listen, it's really nice to meet you, Marcello. I'm very passionate about professional paintball. I believe I have what it takes. In the off season, would you mind if I came to a tryout and practice with you all? Something along those lines. And I doubt Marcello will turn you down. And when you get to that practice with this team or you play with them, be so good at those things that they are forced to notice. And that's where the magic happens.
That's the biggest thing, man. You're going to get a lot of no's. People are going to say no. And this was, to me, it's why you're where you're at today. It's because you didn't accept no. Because you got no all the time.
Take rejection as a challenge.
Yeah, and
my mom always tells me that.
And Philly was the same, dude. I just give so much credit to that guy. Philly Shreds, another shout out. Like, also flew himself out. You guys were in the same process. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And both of you guys were just told no over and over. And it's like from our perspective, it's like eventually they're gonna be there, but they're not there yet. And they have to prove it on their own. They haven't proved enough yet. And so we kept saying no, no, no. And then you guys went and still attacked, still did it, and found your homes in other places, which is, that's the American dream, I think, right? You have the opportunity to just make it happen.
Absolutely.
Put in the work and make it happen. I think that's the dream. You guys both did it, and it's a perfect testament to not giving up. Like I always talk about this with, when I have conversations with my close friends and stuff. The only thing that separates successful people from unsuccessful people is the successful people didn't give up. They kept going. They found new ways to challenge their denial. That's all it is. That's really all it is. There's a little more motivation in successful people to work around the obstacles, work around the cones, and get to the point that they're trying to get to. Whereas unsuccessful people, they try, they get rejected, and they turn and they go the other way. There's no other difference. Sure, okay, some people are smarter than others. There's some you can play into it, but there is just so much of people that they give up too soon. If you would have accepted our no, we told you no, because at the time you were not good enough yet. Yet is the key word. If you would have accepted that, that's it. There would be no AG21 show. There would be no, there might be the show. I don't know. But there would be no you kicking butt on the webcast like you have been the past couple of events. There'd be none of that in the pro division, right? There'd be zero of that. But you didn't accept that no. You accepted, I have more to work on. And you found a way around the obstacle to your goal. And that's what people in everyday life, and that's why I love paintball. I think it relates so much to everyday life, whether it's a relationship. Dude, relationships are tough, man. They're really tough. You have your goal of being together, and there's so many obstacles that you have to get around, and it's very easy to just go that way to the other goal. But in order to get to that goal, you have to really maneuver through these obstacles kind of gracefully, and you have to learn and evolve and adapt, and then you get there. And it's great because you achieved it. But it's only through hard work and being able to overcome the no's, and the obstacles. And that's with anything. It's like the most congruent thing out there is to get to the highest level of anything. If you want the highest level of a relationship, of your work, if you work in an office, if you work for it, I don't care what it is. If it's a sport, to get to that highest level, you're going to have to overcome many obstacles. You're going to have to get turned down a lot. You're going to have to lose a lot, right? And you're going to have to formulate new ways to get to that goal. And eventually, if you just never give up, you're probably going to get there. I can't say 100% of the time you're going to get there because some people might just go in circles forever, and they can't formulate the right one. But 90% of the time, you're going to get to that goal if you don't give up. I think a lot of people give up way too early, and they're very discouraged by being told no, and they're embarrassed by putting themselves out there, and they give up, and it's sad, because their goals could be reached. Your goals could be reached. Whatever it is, they can be reached. Absolutely. You just have to go.
And guys, I was there once upon a time, and I'm still there right now. I'm not where I want to be. And I see you guys all the time when you DM me on Instagram and you ask me for advice. I'll give it to you straight up. And Marcello, I know you will as well. So if you have any of these questions, if you want to know certain things, we're here for you guys. You reach out to us. We'll tell you exactly what you need to hear. But it's up to you, because we're not going to do it for you. He was not going to allow me to play professional paintball. I had to prove to Marcello, like, hey, I'm here to stay, and I'm not going anywhere, right? And it's the same thing for all you at home that want to play in the professional division. It's really on you, and I'm excited for the journey that you have ahead of you, and reach out to us anytime through those steps.
Look, real quick, it's easier to play in the professional division of paintball than it is to play in the professional division of many other sports.
I don't know about that.
You don't know about that?
No.
Well, statistically, it's way more difficult to become an NFL player or an NBA player.
For how many guys are trying to do it?
Right.
Okay.
So when you break it down to that, there's not as many people trying to get to the same goal. Your options are a lot better. If you go through the process and you get really good, which is not that difficult. It's trial and error, and it's a lot of dedication, a lot of sacrifice. That's it. To me, that's not a difficult choice. If you want something, it's very easy to choose yes or no. Okay? So once you do that and you prove yourself, you don't have 10,000 doesn't even do it. You don't have hundreds of thousands of other players that have also put in that much effort and are that talented, raw, that are fighting for the same job. How many professional NFL players are there? There's 32 teams.
53-man
roster.
Yeah.
Can you do the math on that?
I cannot. No.
32 teams, 50-man roster. I think it's about 15,000? No. 32 teams, 15-man roster. Or no, 50-man roster. Can you pull up a calculator? Jesus. Yeah.
So go ahead. Where are you going with this?
But my point is that it's no. I want to get this dialed in before we move on. There's no problem to the people out there. Did I say 15,000? That doesn't make sense. 32 teams, 50 people back home. 69, so his 1,500 is what I was going for. Sorry, guys, math isn't my thing, clearly. All right, so there's 1,600 professional NFL players. Mm-hmm. How many professional paintball players are there?
I'm not even sure. There's 16 teams, maybe it's like 160.
160 about, yeah. That's a good. So
less than that.
1,600 compared to 160. Obviously, there's way more people fighting for that position than fighting for the paintball position. But the thing is, like our group, we're looking for new players. If you look at professional paintball right now, there is a lot of pros that have been in the game for a long time. We're looking for young and upcoming players. Mm-hmm. The NFL, if you're 5 years in and you're not cutting it, you're out. It's cutthroat. In my opinion, it is way easier to become a professional paintball player than a professional NFL player. You watch Hard Knocks, dude. These guys they're on par with the other people. They're just as good. And right before the season gets started, they get called into the office and it's, hey, you're out, dude. Mm-hmm. Like, you're gone. Sorry, we're going to move forward without you. You're great in every way. There's literally the only reason you're getting cut is because this guy runs 0.2 seconds faster than you. We don't have that in paintball. So I'm sorry, I have to completely disagree that it's more difficult. I think getting in the NFL or the NBA is your odds are a lot less likely. And so for our sport, like you guys, we need more kids that are hungry. We need kids that grow up the way that, from what I've seen, you grew up, the way I grew up, the way Mouse grew up. I'll give a lot of shout out to my boy Alex Goldman. You want to say something?
No, go ahead.
We grew up fighting tooth and nail, thanks to Mike Hinman. This was like the next evolution of the story. So when I was 11, 12 years old, I was playing on my own team, and then I got picked up by Mike Hinman. He was starting San Diego Aftermath, which now is a pretty worldwide known team, I would like to say. I mean, I have people from Australia, from all over the world that are asking for Aftermath jerseys to this day. So like they've made a name for themselves, He picked us up as young kids and gave us the opportunity to practice all the time and really put in the work and all that stuff. And there's 5 or 6 professionals today that are top line professionals that came from that camp. And it was from the hard work, and it was from taking it like a real sport. Because that's the thing is, dude, not every paintball player, they don't treat this like a real sport. There's professional paintball players that don't treat this like a real sport. And I'll put them on blast. Like, it's just the truth. There's professional paintball players that do not treat paintball as a profession. They don't treat it the way other professional athletes do. All right? And so when you have that wiggle room, there's no way you could tell me that it's easier to get into the NFL or the NBA than paintball. Because to me, it just shows that not enough people have worked hard enough to achieve this goal. Because if more people worked harder, then there would be more people to pick from. I know from our team, Dynasty, we're like, who do we get? There's no one. We don't know who to pick up. If we were to pick up another, like I know me personally, I'm like, yeah, if they're not coming from another pro team or they're not a veteran, there's no college players that we would like to pick up, right? Where in the NFL, it's just you pick them left and right. You can get funneled through the system.
So what I want to play off of this is, you're comparing tournament paintball to the National Football League. Off the top of my head, when I answer that, you're completely right about it being harder to play in the NFL than it is tournament paintball. I'm thinking to myself, well, there really is only 150 players, so it's very rare in that sense of like it's rare to play professional paintball. But it's also rare to capture people's attention to professional paintball.
Oh, that's the rarest. I'm with you there.
And that's where I'm going with this, right? The NFL is exposed to millions of eyes every single Sunday, and it's exposed to young kids at 6 years old. And when they see it on TV, they say, hey, I want to go play that, right? And then they realize that there's a local league in their area.
Sure.
Absolutely.
100%.
And it gets back to that exposure that I talked about when I saw paintball on ESPN in 2006, okay? Brian from California wants to know, what do you think the reason paintball has changed? And I think what he means by that is, why was it on TV once upon a time, and now it necessarily isn't? And that's what I want to kind of get down to, Marcello, is because I want kids all over this country to have the opportunity to have the same exposure to paintball that I had once upon a time, so they can take that same journey to be a part of that 150 professional player group that does exist today.
It's a tough question. Why has paintball changed? I'm assuming he means since 2008, which is like kind of the glory days of paintball, ESPN, all that stuff. Well, a lot of things have changed. A lot of stuff in all sports have changed. It's 2017 now, 9 years later. I think paintball is a really tough sport to film. I think it's a very tough sport to produce in a show. You don't have, this is what people constantly talk about. I don't think this is our downfall. I don't think that it is the reason we can't be on TV, but it's a major talking point and it's valid. There's no focal point, so it's tough for cameras to capture everything that's going on. So I think that is probably why it's not still on ESPN, is ESPN was like, well, we can't really film this well. It's not going to do us any good because we can't capture it as well as we would like to, and so we're out. But that doesn't mean that we can't have our own thing, our own show going, and ESPN talks about it. I watch SportsCenter all the time. That's on ESPN. They talk about stuff that's not broadcasted on ESPN.
Absolutely.
UFC is a perfect example. UFC does not get broadcasted on ESPN. It's on pay-per-view. I see no reason to have paintball be any different because you can build your base, you can build your following, and the way you do that is through stories. I know when I watch basketball, and I'm a diehard Laker fan, byproduct of being a Kobe fan, okay? So I was a diehard Kobe fan. Forever. I'd watch every single game he played if I was home. Every game. But, from start to finish. But if I'm watching the Milwaukee Bucks play the Dallas Mavericks, I'm so uninterested, it's not even funny. It's like paintball. I love going home and watching Go Sports and watching, Impact play Infamous. I love it. Because I know personalities from each team. They're both competitive. I'm interested. I'm involved in the story. And that's how all consumers of sport products are. That's what people need to understand the most, is it's about the story. The game, sure, we might need to modify a few things to make it a little more presentable. I'm okay with that. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But it's about getting the story out there of the individuals. Because last season, Russell Westbrook, right? He was recording an average of a triple-double. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's in crazy stats. It means you're scoring at least 10 points, at least 10 rebounds, at least 10 assists every game. Well, I guess you could have 10 steals or something. That doesn't really happen. But
since Oscar Robertson.
You get my point. Yeah, first person to do it since Oscar Robertson. So the entire year, people were tuning in to Oklahoma City Thunder games, even though they didn't even have much of a chance at the playoffs. They were tuning into games just to see if Russell Westbrook was going to record a triple-double.
Got it.
Stats. Stats are important. They're the foundation of success within sports. They are the foundation of story. When you have, this is 2 years ago, I think, it was Kobe was retiring, all right? And it was his final game. Last game he was ever going to play in the NBA. But it was also the Golden State Warriors. And they were playing, if they won, they would be the first team to break the Chicago Bulls record and win 73 games in one season. So they would have been 73-9, whereas Chicago Bulls are 72-10. Those are two very high-profile games, right? But it was almost mixed between what people watch, and it's because people want stats. They want somebody to accomplish something higher than someone else did. That's where they measure greatness. And so with sports, with paintball, we need really good stats. Paintball Access was doing a great job. Go Sports is doing a very, very, very minimum job. Look, I'm happy they're doing some, okay? But it's minimum. And I have to say it. Yeah. I'm sorry, I have to say it because to me, my biggest thing, something that is so important to me is this sport growing, all right? And, the guys that are doing it, Cena, he's done as much as he physically can to get stats going with fantasy paintball and all that. And I'm very thankful for him for that. But there needs to be more. That is a crucial part of our game. We need statistics. We need accurate and thorough statistics because that creates story. I would also love if we got rid of split deck. Split deck sucks because the commentators, they can't ever talk about anything. So this guy's asking how do we, what do you think the reason paintball has changed? Well, this kind of stuff sets us back. It makes it harder for us to televise. It makes it harder for us to tell a story. When you have a game, you have a matchup, Impact versus Dynasty, and the commentators, there's not another team involved. It's just those two. You have commentators that could build it up. You understand the schedule weeks before the event. You say, oh, Dynasty and Impact are about to play. Impact's beat Dynasty 4 out of the last 3 events they've played. Dynasty's obviously upset. Mouse has gotten shot by Marcello 5 out of the last, times they've played. You know what I'm saying, right? When you can build these stories, yes, it makes people interested. Then they're like, oh my God, I want to watch. I want to see. Is Mouse going to shoot Marcello? Is Marcello going to shoot Mouse? Is Impact going to beat Dynasty? Is Dynasty going to beat... these are the underlying fundamental differences that build up these these reasons for you to care. Many people may not even understand that that's what's going on when they watch sports, but they're subconsciously watching for these reasons. So I think paintball has changed because we don't have that. We got a lucky deal with ESPN, which was great, and then they realized they couldn't really show it that much. And then the PSP started to bring out some really amazing stuff with their show. The show was doing very well. The stats were doing very well. It was awesome. It was accurate. It was really well done. And then the NXL came around and took over the league, and they've done a lot of other amazing things. Like venues are great, attendance is up. People are playing. They've done amazing things, like great things. I love the NXL for the stuff they have done, but I'm upset with them for the stuff they have dismissed with stats, because I think this could be a huge way forward. I think stats, you create these stories, you create interest, you make it an on-demand type thing. Split deck just doesn't work because, I'll tell you what, our game's hard enough to understand, right? Our game's hard to understand on a webcast. So that 2 minutes that you should have in between each point should be allocated for the commentators to speak about what just happened in that previous point. Give a breakdown with nice replay, nice visuals of what actually happened in the point before. Just like in the Super Bowl last year when Edelman caught that insane catch. You didn't realize how insane it was until they slowed it down in slow motion and replayed it over and over. Then you appreciated, oh my God, that's unreal. But when he caught it in real time, I was like, I could do that in my flag football league, right? Mm-hmm. But until he slowed it down and you saw all the intricate detail, you didn't understand. So I would like to see more money invested in stats and camera angles and making the show good. Because if people saw all the little details of a professional paintball player when he goes to make a really good move or he makes a great shot, it's unbelievable. And it makes people drop their jaw and say, wow, that took a lot of skill. That is what separates them from us. And when you create that separation, you create admiration. Because then there's this level that you want to get to. You can't have that without a story, without the right cameras. Honestly, as simple as it is, it needs to be captured. And so I think if we do that, if we can get that stuff back on track, paintball's interesting. I love watching paintball. I love watching teams that I know the stories, I know the history. I love it, And I know everybody that loves paintball does as well. So to me, that just says that people need to understand the game more and fall in love with the personalities a little more,
That's a very insightful answer. That was really good, Marcello.
It was long. I'm sorry.
No, it was long. No, that was. He really broke it down for everyone about what it's going to take. Now, I want to just touch on something really quick though. I talked about those eyeballs that have never seen paintball before. Sure. Do you have any solutions to reaching those eyeballs? Where are we going to stream paintball? How should it be done? Do we need to re-sign a contract with ESPN? Should we be streaming it for free on networks like Facebook, who are going to be coming out with TV series in the fall now, or on social media? How are we going to get those eyeballs into tournament paintball?
I personally think you stream it for free. Every player that plays tournament paintball, share it. Share it, share it, share it, share it. I know I try a lot of new things because I see it on social media. I'm like, that looks fun. Mm-hmm. What is it? This guy's jumping off of a mountain with a squirrel suit? That looks cool. I will never do that, by the way, because I'm so scared of heights. But it looks cool. But that's how a lot of us see stuff nowadays. Is we see it through social media somehow. We go down the rabbit hole and then we see that. So I think the best way... Free streaming. Yeah, free streaming is a huge one. It's a big one. Not for the... Hold on, though. Not for the professional events. I don't think that. Maybe the live events, I do think that should be pay-per-view. I think it should be an elite thing that is paid for. I mean, just like UFC, like that's how the league can make its money back in the show. That's how the players can eventually make money. I think it's very okay to keep that as a paid platform. But after the event, release a couple games for free to the public. Release content for free to the public. There needs to be a lot of free content, of course. Nobody that doesn't understand paintball is going to pay to see paintball. So you have to release some stuff, of course, to get people interested. But you also need to charge for the pay-per-view, for the the hard work that these teams and players and everyone has put in for these events, I do agree with the paid platform in that sense. There needs to be a nice balance of it, right?
In the ESPN league, once upon a time, they were playing in 2006, and these seem to be pre-recorded matches.
Right.
Do you believe in pre-recording a paintball match, or do you believe in only streaming it live?
That's a good question. I'm pretty indifferent on it. So I think pre-recorded paintball matches can tell the story a lot better.
Absolutely.
And that's a big thing. But who knows? With the way technology is nowadays, I think that we can get to that point live. Maybe with like a 5-second delay, sure. It just takes more money, right? Absolutely. So I think we could get there now without it being pre-recorded. But I wouldn't be opposed to that. I would love if somebody came in and was like, dude, I'm going to pre-record all of the matches, and I'm going to put together a show based on all of the matches.
Because that's what I'm thinking.
Dude, it would be epic. It would be epic for the consumer. It would be epic.
I want there to be a halftime. I want you to go in the locker
room.
room.
Dirter did this.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Dirter did this. And their videos were awesome. They could have done it a little better, a little more frequently. They chose teams and followed those teams for the season, so you didn't get the story of the tournament. But they had the concept of pre-recorded games, and so they would film each match, and then as they would produce it, they would put things together and be able to explain it to you so it was very visual and you understood exactly what was going on. You saw the big moves. I think that would be huge. We need that as well. We need that along. Look, just like the advice of the first guy, you can't focus on just one. We have to do that. We have to also make pay-per-view better. We have to make events better. We have to do it all. We have to work on all of it, right?
Absolutely. And how people listening in at home, what are some of the steps they can take to help the sport grow and things like that?
The biggest thing is just exposing it to your friends. I mean, if people want to get crazy serious, I mean, they could print out flyers and take them to every business in their entire city, you know, and leave paintball flyers that are, you know, it's a company or a card to your local paintball field, and maybe the business can bring their group out for a business outing, you know, which companies do all the time. They do it once a month usually, at least once a year. So, absolutely. You know, if you really want to get serious, you could do that. But the biggest thing, dude, is just go out and play. Go out and play, have fun, and maybe bring a friend. You know, you don't have to do anything super crazy. Just go play, have fun, bring a friend, introduce them to it, you know. And if you do want to get crazy, you can really go around. You could bring flyers. You could put paintball. When I was younger, when I was 12 years old, 11 years old, playing on that beginner team I was talking about, Die Paintball was down the street. Ironmen were always at my local field. So I like to say good friends with them, but no, I was a 12-year-old. They were all in their mid-20s, 30s. So I wasn't their friend, but I was an acquaintance, right? So I'd show up to the Die Factory and be like, hey, is Billy Wing back there? Is Isaac back there? Like, people in front of me, like, who are you, you know? I'm like, no, they know me from the, and this is a true story, you know? And so then they would come up, and they were super cool. They'd take me back, they'd give me a bunch of stickers, and I remember I would take these stickers, I'm about to give bad advice, I just realized that. I would take these stickers, and I would post them up at my school, all over. Don't do that. Don't do that.
No graffiti.
Do it. Oh, whatever, dude. But I would just put paintball stickers everywhere. I thought that I was helping. I was like, paintball. Boom. Yeah. Paintball. Boom. Paintball. It's pretty funny, you know. But in any way that you can help the exposure to it, the best way is to bring somebody to play, because I've never met somebody that has gone and played and not had a good time. Truthfully.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right, Marcello. Let's talk about Sam here. He's from Florida. He wants to know, you know, you're at a point now in your career where maybe you're thinking about the future plans you have after paintball.
Oh, I see the same question you see. He's asking when I retire from paintball. Bro, I'm not that old. I'm not ready for this yet.
What are your plans for the future when you retire from paintball?
From paintball. Okay. So if he's talking about retire from playing competitive paintball, which I hope he's talking about, except retiring from paintball is just not in my DNA. Not going to happen. You guys are stuck with me forever. If you like playing paintball, I'm going to be involved somehow forever, I hope. So if you talk about like retiring playing competitively, I'll be somewhere in the sport. I have a few different things. Like, I've been working on a clothing line with HK. I do a lot of clinics. I'm trying to develop a lot of different ways that I can teach more people. I'll be involved. I'll be here. Not sure what capacity it is. Just know that I've had many ideas, and it takes time for those to develop. And there's different phases that you need to go through. There's different eras, if you will. Right now, I'm very focused on competing at the highest level I can and teaching as many people as I can. But that will evolve. That will develop into something else involved within the sport. Don't know exactly what it is or what direction that'll be, but I'll be here. I won't be retiring from paintball per se, so you'll see me, guys.
If you have a dream like where you leave paintball and you want to see it in a certain place a certain amount of time, what is that dream you have for paintball?
I think the biggest thing is for people to be able to make a full living from it. The biggest thing is so that kids can go home, because I remember, I was very fortunate that my dad started paintball with me, but I had so many friends that would go home and say they wanted to play paintball competitively, and their parents said, well, where is that going to get you in life? And so their parents didn't let them play paintball. Not only did they not support them, they didn't let them spend their own money on paintball. And that's sad. That's heartbreaking, with knowing what this sport has done for me and where it's taken me, and the person that I am today, literally because of paintball and the people that I have met through the sport and the experiences I've had through the sport. It's heartbreaking because they were so wrong, and I want people to be able to go home to their parents and say, Mom, I want to be a professional paintball player, and their mom be proud of their son for that aspiration. That's my biggest goal, is for parents to be proud of their kids for coming home aspiring to be professional paintball players. Now, if you look at it that way, you can imagine that means there's a lot of other things behind the scenes that are going well for paintball.
Absolutely.
Right, so that's the goal.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I really do hope it gets to that level. And when I watched it once upon a time on ESPN, I thought that all these players were making certain salaries, and I know some players were making salaries. But enough to make a living. I think that's going to be on guys like us to grow the sport and give exposure to it, and reach audiences, and maybe manipulate the format in order for it to get that type of exposure.
Sure, format, dude. To me, it's about stats and story.
Okay.
I agree. Format, we could probably get better with it. There's easier ways to film it for sure, right? The biggest thing is stats and story. Tell a story, build a story, have stats. That's the foundation of all sports. Football, I hated football when I was younger. I didn't understand it. I wasn't connected to any players. My dad would make me watch it with him every Sunday. I didn't like it. I watch football every Sunday that I can now. If I can't watch it because I'm playing paintball, which happens often, I'm on my phone, on all the apps, because I'm playing fantasy. I'm doing all this stuff. Fantasy football is one of the NFL's biggest prized possessions. It's based solely off stats.
Yeah.
We need more stats in our sport. I can't push that argument enough. We need more stats. I wish the players back home, or anyone who's watching, push for stats. We need more stats, We need stuff. Fantasy is great. We have a low-key fantasy now, but it could be better, Stats are important. Push the story of what's going on. Once I started falling in love with personalities, I started watching all of their NFL games, all their NBA games. And I only fell in love with that stuff through their stats, through their story, Kobe coming up the way he grew up in Italy and then came out, it's an awesome story. You're so sucked into what is this guy gonna do, because I'm invested in his personality, in his story. What's he gonna do? That's what makes people tune in. They don't even understand that's why they're tuning in, but that's why they tune in. Floyd Mayweather made most of his money off of people tuning in because they wanted to watch him get beat.
Yep.
They didn't want to watch Floyd Mayweather win. They wanted someone to beat him.
Well, and also
nobody could.
I see with that fight. That fight was August 26th, I believe, but it was promoted.
Yeah, the McGregor-Mayweather
fight was promoted months before it actually happened.
Oof.
And you're so right. In building up a story and building up these characters, we can do a better job in hyping up these events and creating storylines for each event and being more accurate with the stats and streaming it through the digital era that we're living through right now to reach audiences across the nation.
100%.
And
you know,
the world,
and it's not even like I hear you hyping up the stories, but it just needs to be raw, because everybody has a good story. Your story is so good. I like to think my story is good. I know Mouse's story is good. I know Kyle Spica, his story is amazing. One of the best. I mean, he dropped his entire life on the East Coast, drove out here in his car to the West Coast, struggled to find a place to live. We searched around for a while, all because he was pursuing a professional paintball career. He had no job, no nothing, and now he's crushing it. You know, he's crushing it. He's living the life that he had always wanted to live through paintball. So these stories are fascinating, and they need to be out there, which is, again, why I appreciate you putting on the show, because you're going to get to the bottom of a lot of these stories, which is great. But the league could be doing the same thing with getting to the bottom of these stories. Now, they're not going to do podcasts and stuff like that, but they could build stuff up. They could, they could build sports stories. And it's like I said, last time, Uprising played Dynasty. These were the stats. This person shot this person this many times, and whatever it is, this stuff is interesting. That's all SportsCenter is. SportsCenter would not be a company if they didn't have this. That's all SportsCenter does. Is they talk about the show. That's all they do. They don't do anything else. They talk about the show. They analyze.
Really quick, just because this map is behind us, and you're talking
Sure.
about Kyle, living this life
Sure.
and dropping everything to do it. For someone who hasn't played paintball before, doesn't know what it's like to be a professional paintball player, can you take them around a little bit of this globe? I know we have North America cut off of some of the places paintball has taken you, and some of the experiences you've had because of paintball and the people you've met along the way.
Yeah, so if you guys can't see closely, I've red pins in every spot that I've been, and it's pretty much all for paintball. Every continent other than Antarctica. I don't think they have paintball up there, unfortunately. Been hoping they get some igloos going. But paintball's amazing, man. I mean, shoot. All over North America, you can't see it there, but I've been able to travel down to South America from the top all the way to the bottom.
And you host clinics in these
everywhere. And
places.
but most importantly, the coolest thing that paintball has given me is we don't live a very flashy life with paintball, right? It's not like you go to these places and you stay in a 5-star resort and you're put up as well as possible. No, typically I'm staying in a spare bedroom of somebody's house that lives down in Aruba or Argentina right here. Or I, go to South Africa, same thing. Up here in Europe, I'm staying on a couch or a spare bedroom, or sometimes nice hotels, absolutely. But those experiences are priceless, dude. I can't even begin to go on with those experiences because they've just opened my eyes to so many different cultures, which is, I always preach travel and that people should travel as much as possible so that they can experience and understand that our complaints and our bubble is not the only bubble,
absolutely.
and there's different views that are just as valid, and it's very eye-opening, and so it's beautiful that I've been able to go, all over here, man. You can go over here to Asia, I got that going on, Australia, we got stuff all over the map, and each place offers something very unique and different, dude. Very, very special, and something that I appreciate immensely, so much, dude. Travel is it's the number one thing that has made me the person that I think I am today, is because all these experiences are from this. It's from paintball, and I land in these places and I have people pick me up and they're so thankful that I'm there, and in my mind I'm so thankful that they wanted me there, and so it's mind-blowing, it's eye-opening, and that's one of the biggest reasons I do love paintball, other than all the challenges it forces you to overcome personally. It really makes you connect with the outside world once you reach a level where you're traveling the way you've experienced a small taste of it, recently.
Well, you step out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
And that's really when you get to growing in life, is when you step out of your comfort zone and you expose yourself to new experiences. And I can thank paintball for allowing me to experience a place like Europe, You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Like I would never experience Europe, if it was not for paintball. And I'm very hopeful to play paintball in Asia. I've been to Asia before, but I've never played paintball in Asia before. And I've seen you've gone to Australia before, and I've never played paintball in Australia. And I'd love to be able to go there and bring my paintball gun with me. I think there's some.
Well, you can't bring your paintball gun to Australia.
Oh, really?
Unfortunately, not yet. Unless you get a permit for it, it's a big hassle.
Hopefully
yeah, it's,
hopefully someone has some.
it's tough.
It's
tough.
for me.
They'll have guns for you there, though.
Oh, that's awesome.
They're working on it, which is great, actually. So Australia has long been they consider paintball guns a regular firearm. So you need a license to actually own a paintball gun. You need a firearms license. So it's really difficult for people to get a firearms license in Australia in the first place, and then to get it for paintball gun is obviously difficult. If you're below 18, no chance. But I do think the owner of the main league out there, the Super Sevens, Mike Wybrew, he's been working closely with the government for years trying to get that change, and I think they're finally turning a tide. I know he's had a lot of good changes in the past few months. So Mike Wybrew, huge shout out, bro. Keep doing it out there because we need paintball to live in this area big time. All right, this is as big as the U.S., even though the map doesn't make it look as so, but it is. So we need that.
Wow. Very cool. All right, Marcello, I want to wrap up this really quick.
All right.
And you've had one of the best paintball careers that any athlete could have. What legacy do you want to leave in the sport?
Man, that's such a tough question. I honestly get asked that. Growing up is always, hey, I just want to be the best in the world, which I still want. I want people to look back and say he was the best in the world. That'd be awesome. That means that I think I still have stuff to strive for to reach that point. But the biggest thing to me, I think that where I've come to is if people can look back and remember me as somebody that helped the sport reach a new level that it never reached before with, fans and with the opportunity for new and upcoming players, and somebody that just really made a difference within the game, as hippie as that might sound. That's where I really look for my legacy to be nowadays, is just someone that was in the sport that made a huge difference and brought paintball, put it on the map, got it noticed by some more recognizable companies. I think that would be huge. Just being a true ambassador of the sport. That's what I'm looking forward to being.
All right, man. Well, I want to end this by having you engage this audience right now, and I want you to give them one challenge moving forward, and I want it to come from you, and I want them to be able to strive for something in that challenge that you give them before we sign off.
All right. Well, this challenge, I assume most people are paintball viewers, but if not, it's not even paintball related. So I want you to think of something in the last week that has made you extremely uncomfortable. That might be that you were put in front of your classroom and had to do some public speaking. That might be that you were in the gym and were very uncomfortable because you weren't confident in the weights you were doing. Or you were on the field and you were in the snake and you weren't normally there and you were uncomfortable. I want you to find in the last week what was the most uncomfortable situation you were in, and I want you to reenact that and make it better. Whatever it was.
Right there.
Yeah. Reenact it. Get comfortable with what you were most uncomfortable with in the last week.
That's good stuff right there. Well, I appreciated your time. I hope you had a blast, my friend.
Dude, always great talking with you, man. I'm glad we were able to do this live. For the people,
yeah.
I love it, dude. I believe this is episode 2, right?
Episode 2.
Guys, I will be back, okay? I'm going to kind of horn in and hope to be a staple in the AG21 show because I'm stoked. This thing is going to take off big time because this guy is dedicated, motivated. I know you already have, you got Rainy next week, Mouse the week after, I think.
Yep.
You're crushing left and right. So, whenever you get bored of all that, I'll be back. We can talk about some stuff. I love it. So I just want to personally thank everybody for watching.
Absolutely.
I know you're probably going to thank them too, but thank you guys for watching and tuning in. Paintball content is amazing. Another thing, we could tie this back in. Share this stuff, Share it. Share it.
Mm-hmm. That's how we're going to grow it. Where can people find you, Marcello?
Dude, I'm all over. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Marcello Margott. Easy to find. The first one that pops up. Fortunately, I have a unique name that I hated growing up, but now I'm thankful for it. So, yeah, Instagram, anywhere, dude. If you guys want to contact me or reach out, my website, marcellomargott.com, anywhere you guys want, you can reach out. I'm available to as many people as I can, and I try to respond as often as possible. So I would love to hear from you guys, what you thought of the show, what you would like to hear even in the future,
Absolutely.
right? That'd be awesome. And any questions you got. So
awesome. Yeah, guys, and please engage in the comment sections. I'll be posting this on my YouTube page at Alex Gray. I'll also be streaming this on the podcast app at the AG21 show, and really engage with us. Some of the topics that we talked about, we can't cover everything, but let's be raw with it. You know what I mean? Don't always give the answers people want to hear. Let's get to all those pressure points that are going to allow this sport to grow for the better. And it's not going to happen with just me, and it's not going to happen with just Marcello. If we want to see it in a better place than it is right now, we're all going to have to do it together. So you can find both of us in Kissimmee, right? Orlando, Florida area. We will be there on November 3rd for the final World Cup tournament of the NXL. I'm very stoked for that. And
me too, bro.
We'll see you guys then.
See you guys then.
Peace
We
out.
out.